Well, hello, friends. This is our first pivot of the semester. I want to apologize for the inconvenience, and I want to apologize that in light of not knowing what the next few days and weeks hold, that I'm not going to be there in class with you. So please let me be the first to ask for your forgiveness. My wife and I are extremely frustrated as we have been consistently diligent as those who probably went overboard throughout the summer to take every necessary precaution. So we're not really sure how we landed here. My wife has just recently today on Wednesday taken her COVID test. We're waiting for results, which we probably won't get back till Friday or Saturday, and then we have to determine the time frame from that point on. So we shall see how it goes. In the meantime, we do have the opportunity to pivot through our use of technology, and so we're going to utilize that over the course of at least the end of this week, probably through next week, but we will see. I will let you know when I know more about what those next steps are going to be. So here's what I'm going to do. Over the course of today, Thursday, and Friday, you're going to have an opportunity to watch a series of lectures, probably 3 to 4 lectures. Each lecture will be 7 to 10 minutes long. That'll give you a chance to break up the lectures so that's not just one big chunk that is going to bore you out of your mind, okay? So I want to break these up, and I want to reflect on the work that we're doing in this course, and you can refer back to your PowerPoints in order to take a look at what we're doing here through this. You could probably bring this up and then minimize it so that you can see me, and then also look at your PowerPoint as well. So I want to do that, and then on Friday, you're going to watch 2 videos, 2 TED Talks, and then I'm going to give you some discussion prompts. And between the lectures that we're doing right now and the TED Talks, we will have a discussion post, and that discussion post will comprise of your attendance and your participation for the week, okay? All right, so let's jump in here to the lectures, and this is going to be lecture 1, probably of 3 or 4. We'll see how far we get. Again, I don't want to be too tedious in this process, but I do want to give you the content that I think is going to be helpful. I want to draw your attention again to the framework that we've been building out for this class. Again, reminding us that the very content of this class is to help us to navigate this multicultural, pluralistic world in which we live. Holding on to our convictions and commitments. For some of us, that means holding on to our convictions and commitments as Christians with an open palm rather than a closed fist. And we will work that out a little bit further in today's set of lectures. But what we have to understand is what comprises of our perspectives, the way in which we see the world, and why entering into the space or into the life of someone else and navigating their difference, navigating the perspectives that they bring, navigating the assumptions that they have about the world is so difficult for us. And we built out a framework for us, okay? So we started with the assumption that much of what we see in this world is above the line, above that immediately observable experiential line where the things like our behaviors, our attitudes, our actions, the words we speak, all of that is above the line. So we see something, we experiencing something in the world, and it doesn't resonate with us, or sometimes it just rubs up against us in the wrong way because what we're seeing we can't identify because it doesn't fit our perspective or our understanding of the world. So what we do is we react to what we see above the line with our above the line reactions, words we speak, behaviors, and attitudes. And so it pits us against one another in our difference above the line. And that's a shallow way to live. What we need to recognize is that the depth of life, the meaning of life, if we're going to live in the midst of difference and pluralism, and we're going to do that well and healthy, we've got to go from above the line to below the line. Below the line is where the substance of life is found. Below the line is where our fears and aspirations, where our values and our worldviews are held. It's the stuff below the line that informs the very actions, reactions, words we speak, behaviors, and attitudes above the line. Okay, so we want to go below the line. Another element that we have to be mindful in this is that our above the line and below the line reality, who we are, how we live, how we act, our worldviews, are always being worked out against the backdrop of the cultures in which we grew up. And every culture has with it its possibilities for human flourishing and its limitations of our perspectives. And just because I deem something unacceptable doesn't mean it's bad. It could be just simply culturally different. Another element that we added to this that we're going to talk about further in this class is how there are a series of moral foundations on which we build our lives and through which we determine or identify what the right, good, true, and noble is. Part of the challenge that many of us face in assessing someone else's ethical behaviors is because we perhaps haven't identified which of the moral foundations seems to rise to the top for us through how we make decisions, and we haven't yet listened to how someone else's moral world or their ethical world is being worked out. So all of this is happening against the backdrop of culture and on the moral foundations. One of the things we also have to recognize is that it's under the line that our identity and our communities are established in held truth. So there's a lot at stake for us in the world below the line. How do we begin to navigate difference in a healthy way? And by healthy, I don't mean that every time you engage difference, you're gonna change your mind, or you're gonna change your convictions, or you're gonna change your commitments. We hold those things in open policy, trusting and believing that our engagement with the other could reshape how we see the world, add texture and perspective, broaden the horizon that we can see out into the world, so we're not as limited or narrowed by the sense of perspectives that you and I have. But that requires two sets of virtues. That's empathy and humility. Those are necessary attributes for us to navigate a world of difference, a world of complexity, a world of pluralism, a world of multiculturalism. We have to be able to step into the space of someone else and feel and see their world, and we have to humble ourselves by suspending our judgments and presumptions so that we can actually take in the world as someone else sees it, so that we can be shaped and formed differently. Now, what we began to talk about then is that all of this is being worked out against the backdrop of trying to understand our own stories, right? We have to come to terms with the nature of our stories, the personal and familial stories, the communal stories. We talked about even the sort of the meta stories of like religion and education and economics. These are our stories. They shape who we are, our perspectives, and where we've come from, how we've interacted with the world, the relationships we've had, the stories we've told, the stories we've heard told about us, the geographic setting that we grew up in. All of these inform our perspectives, creating a set of filters through which we try to make sense of others. That making sense of others is what we talked about in our previous lecture, is called hermeneutics. It's the art of making sense. And all of those stories inform the filters through which I look into the world and I try to make sense of someone else, okay? And so we identified some of those filters, and you did a great job on Monday of looking at some of the filters, like our gender filter, our racial filter, our ethnic filters, our filters of perhaps we grew up in an affluent area or a poor area, and how those filters begin to shape and form how I engage or interact with the other. Now, that sets the foundation. That is a reminder of where we've been, so that we can then move on from there and begin to explore what does it look like when we are unaware of the ways in which our filters shape our perception of reality, how our filters shape our understanding of truth, and what does that do to us, and how does that limit our engagement with the other, and then how do we end up trying to work hard to justify our own stories.